Hello, I'm Marlene Levitt. Today, the focus in our Gender Identity series will be on the Pflag support groups, where relatives and friends of LGBTQ plus people come to understand and support them. With us today is Terry Verono, facilitator, board member, regional director, and past president of Pflag San Diego County. Welcome to the Pace of San Diego, Terry.
Thank you so much, Marlene,
Yes.
for having me.
Well, I have here that Pflag was founded in 1973. It's the first and largest organization dedicated to supporting and educating and advocating for LGBTQ people and their families. How did you become involved in Pflag, Terry?
Well, I have two sons. My older son came out as gay when he was 21. My parents were aware, and they were going to an adult education class, and some members from the Pflag San Diego chapter were speaking about Pflag there. They invited me to go along. I was very impressed with the folks that I heard from at the meeting, and I went to my first meeting, and I was, again, found just great support and education there. And so I asked to go to a board meeting, and then the ball was rolling. I was involved with everything at that point.
How many chapters are there?
There are 400 chapters across the United States. So there's a chapter in major metropolitan areas and rural areas. So people can find a Pflag chapter pretty much anywhere in the country.
And here in San Diego?
Here in San Diego, we have 3 sites that meet in person and 3 sites that are meeting on Zoom. And so anyone can attend any of those meetings. If there's not a in-person meeting that they want to attend nearby, they can join any of the Zoom meetings across the county.
So how many years have you been involved?
I've been involved for 18 years since my son came out.
Really?
Yes.
And things have just changed so drastically in the last maybe 20 years?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. When I first became involved, most of our families had gay children. Now there are many more. Most of our families that are coming to our meetings have non-binary or transgender kids of all ages, some young and some adults who are transitioning. And that is the current population that's seeing the most pushback in our society, and we need the most education and support for those families.
And speaking of education, how does Pflag educate?
Well, we have booklets that Pflag National has published on many, many topics of transgender identities, our children, booklets for grandparents, vocabulary is available, and just an understanding of gender and sexual orientation. So through our conversations, we have guest speakers come to our meetings from the community, maybe someone from the LGBT Center or from a doctor or a therapist come and speak to us.
And there's different support groups. Pflag National for Black, right?
Yes. Pflag National has several online support groups for specific populations. There's a Black group, an African American or Black group. There is a API, which is Asian Pacific Islander group. There's a group for Spanish-speaking folks, and also for military families, because we have military families all over the country who have LGBT children.
And there's other groups besides Pflag.
Yes, in San Diego County, we're very, very fortunate. There's Trans Family Support Services, Gender Fluid Collective. Our LGBT centers have support groups for people who are coming out, as well as allies and family members.
I understand there's 2 major LGBTQ centers here in San Diego.
Yes, there's one in Hillcrest in San Diego, and there's one in North County in Oceanside.
Right. And they speak about advocating.
Yes. Advocacy is critically important now. As parents of LGBTQ children, we hear all the horrible things on the news, and our children hear that too.
Right.
And so we are very interested in advocating for them in their schools so that they're safe there. And in legislature across the country, Pflag National is suing the state of Texas and the state of Missouri for denying care to our Pflag families there that have transgender children.
Right. And we all have to educate ourselves.
Yes.
In the meantime also,
Yes.
you know. Okay, Pflag collaborates, right?
Yes, we work very closely with many LGBTQ supporting organizations in San Diego County, with our centers, with GSAs, with the
GLSEN?
GLSEN, yes. It's GLSEN, GLSEN. It's a Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network. So they are primarily educators who are on campuses to protect and advocate their students. So they do teacher trainings for everyone from the cafeteria lady to the superintendent of schools, to have people make sure that everyone on campus has an understanding.
So in the school districts, there are alliances in the schools, right? GSAs.
Yes. They're gender sexuality alliances. They go by many names, rainbow clubs or chess clubs. One school, they wouldn't let them have a GSA, so they called it a chess club.
Oh.
Our youth are very smart. So it's usually a social group. They, like any other club on a school campus, they typically meet during lunch, and it's just a safe place for children who feel marginalized to gather with their peers and have lunch. And some of them are actually very active. They do Day of Silence and other kind of more political activities on their campuses.
So if you're a child in school and you're wanting some help, you know that there are organizations in the school to help you. And what age are they in the school?
Well, GSAs are generally in high schools and in some middle schools as well.
Okay.
But there are ways that GLSEN allows educators to kind of publicize that they are a safe space for students. They have rainbow stickers that they can put in their classroom that say safe space. So we want to have signs out in every school that there's that students have allies and they know that they have a safe place to go if they feel threatened on their campus.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And I know that you have scholarships.
Yes, our chapter has been giving scholarships to local LGBT students in San Diego County. For many years, we've given over 190 of them and over $425,000. So they are for students who are in San Diego, whether they're graduating from high school and going on to college, or they're working on their master's degree, or they're doing at a community college or a vocational school. We want to help them give a step up in starting their careers.
It's wonderful.
Yes, and we have a big luncheon when we award the scholarships.
Oh.
So we generally have about 130 people. We have people from the community there, and the scholarship recipient and meets the award donor, and it's a really lovely ceremony. It's very empowering for the youth.
So one of the things that holds parents back is that they're not knowledgeable of Pflag and other organizations, and here they either suspect that their child is in these pride community, or they found out and they're in shock, maybe.
Yes.
Like you were.
Yes.
And they need some help.
Yes.
So they find out about Pflag and they come to a meeting in their area or wherever they want it. And what happens?
Well, they find us generally through social media, or their children are involved with a GSA, or Pflag speakers have been somewhere in their community so they're aware of Pflag. So when a person first comes to a meeting, generally they call our information line or our information email, and I respond to those and just have generally an hour-long conversation with them, because many people have not really sought help for something like this before.
They might never have even spoken about it,
No,
right?
they haven't said the words. So they come to our meeting after we've kind of vet them. So we do want to make sure that only people who are coming to our meetings are there for a good reason.
Right.
So they come to our meeting. We have a welcome table with a welcome letter. We have greeters. We have literature there for them. And once everyone has gathered, we gather in a circle, much like any support group.
Right.
There is an agreement of anonymity. You don't have to say anything. We let people know that.
And you don't have to say your name?
Well, we start actually with our guidelines, where we do say that the meetings are not being recorded. There's no photography. Anything that's said in our meeting stays in our meeting. We're not going to go home and say, "Oh, I saw Marlene at the Pflag meeting."
Right.
We want to make sure everyone feels safe and supported.
And show respect to one another,
respect,
right?
Yes, and so we do. Then we go over our guidelines. Then we do introductions around the circle. Just say your first name if you're comfortable doing that, and your pronouns if you're interested in doing that, because we do have some non-binary people or trans people who come, and that kind of just sets the stage for all of us to share our pronouns, so that everyone feels comfortable.
And for a newcomer, they know that even if they do the Zoom, it is not recorded, right?
No, absolutely.
Nothing.
Absolutely, it's not recorded.
Okay. So you just let them speak,
Yes,
and like you say, they don't have to speak. They can
Correct.
just listen, right? And many must choose to just listen at first, right?
many people do. Yes, as we go around the circle, we ask people to let us know what brought them to Pflag today, and if they're comfortable with that. And some people, we also let them know that they don't have to say anything. They can just say pass, and some people do. Some people are just overwhelmed with the information that their child or a loved one or sibling has shared with them. So they just need a place to listen and see if it actually is a safe place for them to tell their story.
Right. Do you encourage like married people to come with their spouses?
It's interesting. Oftentimes we have mom first,
Oh.
and then dads come along. But absolutely. And when we have larger groups, we used to at our in-person meetings pre-COVID, we would have about 35 people. And so we often encourage spouses to go to, we have breakout groups, and we encourage people to separate because everybody's story is different. Everybody's perspective is different. And we want people to feel comfortable speaking freely.
And a person, like a parent, can come with a friend?
Oh,
if they want
absolutely,
to,
absolutely.
Just to support them?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
It's
great.
open to everyone can learn about different identities. We do not have that information generally in our files.
So what happens when a person tells their stories? Do the people comment, or just the facilitator, or what?
Yes, we invite someone, a newer person, to share some more information about how this news has impacted them, and other people respond. We never say you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that,
Okay.
because everyone's story is different. Everyone's background is different. Some people have religious concerns,
Right.
cultural concerns. So we just always allow people to speak freely, and no one tells you what you should do, but we do let people share their stories who've also had a similar experience.
And you're not a therapist.
We are not therapists, we're not psychologists. If someone needs that additional help, we recommend that they seek that especially someone with a transgender experience. You really want to have a provider who understands.
Do you give recommendations?
We don't name specific people, but we do invite people to talk to other people within our group who've had some therapy. And generally, most people have had therapy these days.
That's great. So now let's get back to schools. Talk about a GSA club and what they do there.
Well, GSAs, as I said, they usually meet on campus during lunch. They may make posters, just to encourage people to have a kind campus, be kind to one another. Sometimes they have activities. They do little fundraisers. They make posters for the school. They've done performances. Some of the GSAs even have become very active in speaking to their schools' PTSAs about their experiences on campus to kind of make sure that the campus culture is safe for their fellow classmates.
And I know a lot of people have concern about the little ones in school. What does this have to do with the little ones, and how do you approach this? But I understand that there are different types of families today.
Yes.
So how do teachers approach this?
Well, one of the ways is with literature in the classroom. So we're also very concerned about people trying to ban books in classrooms. Any of the literature that's age appropriate for K through second or third grade is going to be about families, different kinds of families. 2 dads, 2 moms. We know some kids have 4 moms, 4 dads if there have been divorces. And so there's lots of different families. And we want books are generally just about kindness and not being bullies or being mean to other students.
That's great.
Yes.
And they're taught this right in
Yes.
school. That's great. And, okay, so at the point where a teacher suspects that something's going on with this child, what do they advise parents to do or not to do?
Well, teachers are they should send them to a Pflag meeting, advise parents to go to a Pflag meeting if they're having questions. The teachers are not allowed to out a student. They can't call the parent up and say, gee, little Jimmy's wearing dresses in playtime. They can talk to the school nurse and have the nurse talk to the student. But teachers have to be very, very careful. You're not allowed or permitted to out anybody.
Is that strictly in California? Or
Yes, California is a good place to be if you've got a family with a rainbow family. Yes, so California
see.
does have protections.
And when do you start? When do you start support for a child? As soon as they talk about it, or
Yes, as soon as a child starts expressing that they are not comfortable with the gender that they're in, or they want to, we have many younger children say, you know, why you keep calling me a boy? I'm not a boy, or I'm not a girl. Why do you keep calling me a girl? So as soon as a child starts having those feelings and expressing them to you, you want to support them. You always want to lead with love. That's what Pflag's motto is, lead with love. Listen to them. Go on Pflag's website. There's lots of information about what parents should do initially. And then we have what's called social transition. So it's, again, just hairstyle, clothing, things like that. And that's generally what younger children are interested in doing.
Right.
And then from there, as things get more complicated, you can seek sources like Trans Family Support Services or Rady Children's Hospital.
or the centers?
The centers, yes. There's lots of places to go.
And then there's the Trevor Project.
Yes, yes. The Trevor Project has been around for a long time. It was initially it was initially a suicide prevention outlet for LGBTQ people who are considering suicide, and they consider suicide not because there's anything wrong with them, but they receive messages from society, perhaps even their own family, that something is wrong with them, that they're, you know, an abomination. We hear all kinds of horrible things. So they can call the hotline. Someone always answers. Trevor has also evolved to have chats, online chats. They have, some people don't want to talk. A lot of youth don't want to talk to anybody, but they're happy texting, texting them. So it's a support organization for people who are having social issues with their identity.
And I understand there's a very high percentage in the rainbow community that consider this.
Yes, yes, yes. Suicide,
which is very,
yes.
very sad.
Yes, yes. Even for those of us with gay kids. I mean, I've been out with my son and had people say horrible things as we're walking by. So if you receive these messages, why would you, why, it looks hopeless. You see your future as hopeless, and we don't want that.
So let's get back to you for a moment. And when you first heard about this, what were your feelings?
That I had a gay son? It was funny because my husband was in the Army, and we, don't ask, don't tell, and these discussions came up. And I always thought if the universe needs a parent for a gay child, I'd be fine. So I was kind of maybe not surprised when my son came out. We were totally supportive, but I realized what do I do with this information now? How do I become an advocate for him? I'd certainly heard within my own family kind of homophobic slurs, and I needed to empower myself to put a stop to that.
Yeah. And how did you feel about yourself? Did you question yourself at that point?
My problem was I was so disappointed that he hadn't said anything to me earlier. I felt I could have been supporting him, all through his teens, and so the guilt. Most parents carry a lot of guilt for whatever happens with our children. So that was my concern, and I talked to him about that, and he said he just didn't want to be identified from that day forward as being gay.
And now he's very open with
Oh,
that?
yes, yeah. He's a very happy, healthy, gay professional. He's got a restaurant in England and, doing very well.
Did he attend meetings in school, or did he get help?
He didn't. I asked him what the atmosphere was like on his campuses, and if people said something was gay, that he said the teachers always put a stop to it and said that was not appropriate. But at that time, there were no GSAs in schools.
So there's many controversial things going on right now in this world, and it's all based on misinformation, disinformation, violence is happening. Can you address the bathroom issues? What's going on with that?
Well, we're hoping that and in California we're very fortunate because having gender-neutral restrooms is required by law. So it makes things much, much easier for people who are transitioning or who do not present as the sex assigned at birth. And it's ridiculous to have people be denied access to a bathroom based on their gender. So We want bathrooms to be safe places.
Yeah, sometimes it's scary for women to have somebody come in that they obviously know it's man, let's say a trans person. It's an issue.
Well, if it's what if it's a trans man? So he was assigned sex female at birth, and he's supposed to use a woman's restroom. So you
Right.
have a guy with a beard in there? No.
Yeah, right.
We need to be respectful.
And there's issues with the drag shows now.
Yes, drag.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
That's
Yes, again, they're not sexual events. We don't
Right.
take children to an event in Hillcrest on Sunday brunch, but kids, it's dress up. Kids are just
Yes.
fascinated by dress up, so that's what drag.
So that's
drag
kind
time
of like
story
an
time
issue.
is.
And marriage is an issue for a lot of people,
Yes,
right?
yes, it was. Yes, it was a big deal for me when Prop 8 passed. It was heartbreaking, devastating.
Yes. And let me see. And we have never addressed the children of LGBTQ people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do they handle this? Do you hear about this?
Yes, I know. Being involved with Pflag, you meet so many people from the community. And I know many gay couples who have children, and the children are thriving, doing well. If you tell a child that you have two dads, most people are like, oh, I've never heard of that. And they go play.
Yeah.
It's not an issue for children. They understand. People
Because-
love each other.
Because they've been taught in school that there are different kinds of families.
Yes.
And that's important,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's and you mentioned to me that you never say transgenders.
Correct.
Why is that?
It's not a thing.
not a
You
thing.
have a transgender man or a transgender woman,
Okay.
a transgender person,
Right.
transgender individuals, but transgenders is grouping people into something that's not, the experience is different for everyone, so we don't want to ever say that word.
Right. Now, what about doctors? How are they educated on this whole thing?
That's an issue. I have a niece who's a pediatrician. She's calling me all the time. Most of them don't receive any education or a very brief, one-day lecture on gender
Yes.
identities and orientation. So, and the people who are teaching them never received the education initially. So there needs to be big changes, and they are happening definitely in our hospitals in San Diego County. Our organization and Trans Family Support Service and others have had meetings and educated the staff.
That's great. There are a lot of events going on now, not just at Hillcrest, where the Pride Parade is an annual event, right?
Yes.
But where else is it?
So since COVID, many communities have really rallied, especially in lieu of all the anti-trans propaganda in the media. So there's a Pride event in Ramona for the second year. This was started by an 18-year-old. He didn't want to leave his community. He's trans and wanted to bring visibility to community members. So many small communities. Santee had a festival. Pflag also, aside being involved in San Diego Pride, we are involved at all the Pride events. There's North Bay, South Bay. there's Pride events all over.
So if you're in a little community that does not have one and you want advice on how to run one, who do you call?
They can contact Pflag San Diego County.
They can?
We participate in all of them. I've tabled at Ramona and in El Cajon and all over. So so we can help them get started and kind of hook them up with people, other organizations in the community that can support them with their endeavors.
That's great. And you just went to one, right?
Yes,
Recently?
I was at San Diego Pride Festival and Parade. It's just a wonderful event for Pflaggers. Especially older LGBT folks know about Pflag because we've been around since 1973. And the reception that Pflag receives is, I cried the first 3 years marching. As people say they love you, they thank you, they run out and hug you. And they come up and say, I wish that there was Pflag available for my family. I wish my parent would go to a Pflag meeting. So it's very touching, and you realize what a need there is in the community for affirmation and support and education.
That's fabulous. And what did you do at the last? Did you go to the last one?
Yes, I was driving the vehicle.
Were you
So we had a car as well as our marchers, and
it said Pflag on the side?
Yes. And it's a lot. It's just so much fun to be part of the festival, and it's very family oriented. I think people don't know what they're going to see when they come to a Pride parade. There's families there with young children. It's just a wonderful celebration of people in our community.
Well, Terry, I want to thank you so much for coming here and being with us today, and for the work you do with Pflag.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. The word binary means two. As it relates to gender, it has mostly been defined as male and female. But what does it mean to go beyond the binary? It's the recognition and embracing of all possibilities of gender identity and experience. So let's go beyond the binary. Thank you for watching.
If you'd like to find out more
About joining our group here at PACE TV,
please go to our website.
www.pace-tv.com. It's never too late to have fun.
Learning a new skill. Thanks for tuning in.
We appreciate your interest in the PACE of San Diego. Our all-volunteer seniors group at PACE TV has been in existence since 1978. Throughout those years, we have produced 1,000 shows about San Diego and topics of interest to our community. During COVID, we lost our free public access studio space and were forced to reimagine the way we produce our shows. As a result, we've created a small studio and been rebuilding from the ground up in order to continue our mission. We are seeking funding to acquire equipment and ultimately have access to a larger production space again. Over the last 45 years, we've been honored to serve San Diego County in this way and to see the impact many of our shows have made. Your donation will allow us to continue producing high-quality shows airing on television as well as our YouTube channel, and will enable us to train new seniors in all aspects of production in order to disseminate valuable information to the San Diego community. Your sponsorship lets your community know that you not only support quality local programming, but also the many nonprofit organizations we feature, while also giving voice to the largest underserved population in San Diego, its seniors. We greatly appreciate all donations, large and small. For questions, you can email us at info@pace-tv.org.